If you know that someone's not right for you, why is it so hard to let go of them? So you're probably thinking about them constantly, replaying the past, thinking what you could have done differently to get a different result. But the truth is, this pattern, it's not weakness, it's actually attachment and nervous system conditioning. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you the reason why you can't let go of that person, even though you're not meant for each other, and how you can finally release them and move forward with your life. So if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name's Rita and welcome to Empowered Love Within. So on this channel, the main focus is helping you achieve the abundance that you want, but from within. So if you like that type of content, hit the subscribe button and also check out the description box to find out more about my course and offers. Right, so let's get into it. So one of the key things that you need to know is that when it comes to your emotions and, the experiences that you have, they don't just disappear once they've passed. They're actually stored in your body. So the thing is, when you get attached to someone, you're actually formed an actual regulation pattern within the body. And the fact is, the body likes that pattern because it now becomes familiar to it. So one of the key reasons why you can't let go of someone, even though you know that they're not right for you, is because your actual body and your nervous system has formed patterns around that person. They're familiar to you at the end of the day. So breaking that familiarity can feel so hard for people. One of the key things that stops you from letting go of someone that isn't right for you is the constant thing of replaying in your head. It can fall into two categories. One is you're replaying all the wrongs that you feel were done to you in that particular relationship. We've probably all been in the situation at some point in our lives where we felt that we were wronged by someone. And don't you just replay it in your head? Are you just not cursing them in terms of the wrongs that they've done to you, or what you should have said, or how you should have acted, or how you should have retaliated against them? Has that ever happened to you? But you know what? That feeling of that intense rage and that constantly arguing with them or defending yourself in your head, you're not realizing that that particular behavior is creating another pattern of familiarity. It's a negative pattern, granted, but it's still nonetheless a pattern. And that pattern can actually become quite addictive. It literally can become addictive because when you get angry or you feel any kind of emotion, whether it's physically happening in your reality or you're imagining it, which is basically what you're doing when you're playing it out in your head, it has the same impact. Your body doesn't actually know whether the replaying in your head is actually happening right now or whether it's something that you're remembering. It doesn't know because it's still activating the same emotions, the same chemicals within the body that it would have done if it was happening right now. So the danger of that is that you're literally releasing particular chemicals in your body when you're stuck in that loop. And that loop can become addictive. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do it at all, because I think there is a place for, just sometimes thrashing out in your own head, what the behaviors were, what led to this situation, how you feel that you've been treated by this person who you're clearly not meant to be with. But the issue is when it becomes prolonged, and the more that you do it is the more addictive it's going to become to you, and the more you're going to actually continue to do it, sometimes without even realizing. And you can be surprised how much time can pass with you just replaying these old events in your head. And whenever you replay an event in your head, you're never actually replaying what happened. You're now replaying a new version of what happened. Well, it's somewhat a memory, but it's an imagined memory, isn't it? Because you'll probably find that you've probably added in bits what actually didn't happen, and it's not really a healthy scenario. So my advice to you is there is a place to get that anger out. There's a place for doing that. But you've got to be mindful that you don't continue doing it because you'll become stuck in that cycle. And even though you're not physically with them, you're still attached to them, because the more you think about them and the more you replay those events in your head, is the more that you're sending energy to them, and it's the more that you're actually keeping that connection between the both of you going, even though you may be miles apart. you're still keeping it going because you're giving energy to it. Anything that you give energy to will continue, whether good or bad, it will continue. The other thing that I would say is important in terms of why you can't get over someone who you're not meant to be with is because outside of replaying all the negativity in your head and reliving those events, you're actually stuck in the what could have been. So you're stuck in what you think was the potential for the relationship or the potential for that person. Oh, if that particular thing hadn't happened, we could have got married, we could have had children, we could have lived together, etc., etc. The relationship could have progressed. If, for example, I had behaved in this particular way, if they had behaved in that particular way, and I hear it, I do understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean? You are naturally going to replay in your head, oh, I wonder if I'd done that a bit different, if maybe there'd been a different result. But the problem is, by keep on doing that, yet again, you are becoming stuck in that scenario. You're becoming stuck in it. Even though you may not be physically near them, you're still putting so much energy into thinking about what could have been. And in the long term, it's not healthy because you just literally become stuck yet again. By doing that, you're now creating another pattern, which is going to become familiar to your body. And it's something that you're going to want to continue, even though it's a negative pattern in the sense that you're not going to feel good about it. Most times, if you're thinking about what could have been, it's probably going to be wrapped up in feelings of sadness, of grief, of regret, all negative feelings. So what I would say is there's definitely room for thinking about the what ifs, but it's how you use that information. So you could become stuck and think, okay, when we had that argument, what if I didn't shout? Or what if I didn't make that nasty comment? Or, what if he didn't lose his temper? What could have been? But how about you take that and use it to grow for your next relationship? So you might say to yourself, okay, the next time I'm in the midst of an argument and I feel like I'm going to say something that I might regret later, I'm going to withhold from doing that. I'm maybe going to just walk off and say, leave it, this is not the time to talk. So there is a place for replaying it in your mind about what could have been. But as I said, there's got to be a certain context to it, which should be more focused on growth rather than regret. So in terms of practical steps, in terms of how you can actually stop either replaying the negative events in your head or replaying the what ifs in your head in order to get you to that point where, you can let go of that person who you're not meant to be with. The first thing, right, that you need to know about is awareness. You have to become aware of what your thinking patterns are. You have to. Because I can tell you now that these patterns can become so familiar to you and so ingrained in your daily life over a period of days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years that you may not even realize that you're doing it. Feeling negativity towards that person has just become part of what you actually do. Sitting there feeling sad and daydreaming about what could have been may just be part of what you actually do, to the point where you don't actually realize that the behavior needs to change. So I would say the first part to change is the awareness. You need to become aware of what your thinking patterns are. And when you're aware of that, now we're in a position where we can tackle it. And when you get to the point where you now realize, oh, okay, this is a moment where I'm now replaying this in my head, you have to physically stop yourself. Whether you're going to say, no, stop, I'm not going to go down this route. The more you call yourself out on it, is the more you're going to realize it's a pattern interrupt. You're breaking that pattern. And the more you do that, you'll gradually see that the pattern will overturn. The other thing that will be really good to do is when you do the pattern interrupt and you stop yourself, you come up with some kind of affirmation or something that you can do to replace that particular thought. So, for example, if you were thinking to yourself, oh, that person treated me so awful, I can't stand them, you can stop there. You can stop yourself and say, okay, yeah, but I have learned from that I deserve better. I'm worthy of love. You make up what resonates with you. But the point that I'm making is you're going to stop that negative thought with something positive. And the same if you're replaying the what ifs and what you could have done, should have done, etc. When you come to that point where you're thinking, okay, if I hadn't screamed that negative comment in that relationship, maybe we could have been together. You can say to yourself, okay, well, when I go into my future relationship, I'm going to make sure that I'm in control of my behavior during any type of conflict or any type of argument. So yet again, it's another pattern interrupt where you stop in that negative thought, feeling, and you're replacing it with something positive. You may have to do that a few times, especially if it's become really ingrained in you. However, you will realize that you will start phasing out that negative behavior. Another thing that I would definitely recommend in terms of practical ways to let go of that person is actually doing activities that physically calms your body. Real slow, intentional breathing and breath work is so helpful for that because it calms the nervous system. When you get upset or you're in a state of high emotion, especially negativity, at that point your nervous system is kicking in and it feels like it's under attack in some kind of way. And what it's going to do is tense up. As I said, when you're feeling that level of negativity, you're going to be releasing all type of chemicals into the body anyway. And if you can just counteract that with some slow, nice, deep breathing. So for example, you can breathe in through your nose for 10, nice and slow. Hold for 4. And then breathe out through your mouth for 10 again, nice and slow. You do that as many times as you need to, but you will see that you actually start to feel calmer. Your body physically cannot stay tense if you continue to do that. And that's just a way of reminding your body that you're safe and you're actually well. And when you're in the midst of those negative thoughts where you're replaying everything that's happened or you're so stuck on the what ifs, you probably don't feel very safe. You feel in a state of negativity. And as I've said to you earlier, I'm going to say it again because this is a really important point. The things that I'm raising to you, I'm not telling you that you should be suppressing what you're feeling because that is never a good idea. Suppressing what you're feeling is bad news, big time. So what I'm saying to you is there is a place for replaying things in your head, replaying the behaviors that have happened to help you to kind of process it because it has to come out some way. You know what I mean? There is a place for thinking about what you could have or should have done differently. There's a place for that. But it's just about making sure that it doesn't turn into an ongoing pattern and spiral where you become stuck in that. And of course, if you feel that you need external help to process those experiences, then you should seek that too. And, always remembering that to let go of the past is not about failure. It really is about your growth and about you being able to process the experiences that you've had, really to move on to better experiences in the future. And if you become stuck, you're just not living in the present. You're so focused on the past that you're more than likely missing out on all the good that's happening right here in front of you now. So if you feel like this video has helped you in any way, please subscribe to the channel and also check out the description box for my course. Also drop a like on the video and comment below what really resonated with you from this video. So I want to say thanks so much for watching and I'll see you on the next video.